got home quite tired, and so I laid down on my couch. But my dog started barking, and that was very unusual for my dog. And so I turned really to yell at him. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw a tail slither underneath the couch that I was laying on. So I grabbed my dog, or I grabbed my cat, threw him in my bedroom, and then I got a pillowcase and a broomstick. And I tried for like an hour just agitating the snake. It lunged at me a couple of times. But in the meantime, I had my thinking cap on and I took a picture and I posted it on Facebook. And while I was dealing with this, people are messaging me, and a friend says, "Hey, you have a king cobra under your couch."
Oh my. Hello and welcome to Reaching the Rest podcast, episode 3. This podcast was inspired by a desire to connect on a deeper level with global workers around the world, to get to know those with boots on the ground that have dedicated their lives to fulfilling the Great Commission, and to hear their stories. My name is Amy Clausen, and I'm the missions director at Bethel's Rock Church in Minnesota. In today's episode, we have the honor of speaking with Mike Reini, who lives and serves in Cambodia. Hi, Mike. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
So, Mike, can you start us off just with telling us a little bit about yourself and your ministry?
Yeah, my name is Mike Reini. I'm originally from northern Minnesota, the Hibbing area. I've been in Cambodia for about 10 plus years. And here in Cambodia, I am currently the academic dean of our Bible school.
Cool. Very nice. So can you describe your call to missions, the call to the fields that 10 years ago, or maybe it was more than 10 years ago?
Yeah, actually it started way back when I was going to an Assemblies of God church growing up. And I always discerned that there was some sort of call in my life, but I hadn't really found what that was exactly. And so I was just following God wherever he led me, and I was just being a servant where I was. So I ended up being on staff part-time at the Hibbing Church. And in that time, my pastor, he pulled me aside one day while I was working at Caribou Coffee, and he said, "Hey, I want you to go on this missions team that we've got going to Cambodia." And long story short, once I was there, it was just very evident to me that this is where God was calling me to in the next step.
Wow, that's awesome. So what advice would you give to somebody who is interested in missions, but they don't know if they're called?
Yeah, I would say take a step of faith. Put out an application. We have plenty of opportunities for people that is not like a full life commitment. Just test the waters a little bit. That's what I did first of all. I went as a missionary associate. So that means you're going for 1 or 2 years, and that you're going to be like a full missionary, fully appointed missionary, but you're still going to have the covering of a fully appointed missionary while you're there. And so that's what I did, 1 or 2 years. But there's also opportunities for MAPS workers, which means that you're going for 1 month to 11 months. And so there's plenty of opportunity, and we love having people come out. And so it doesn't mean you have to commit your whole life right away. But if you're feeling like there might be something more to this missions thing, if you feel like there's more of a call possibly involved, yeah, just test it out.
Yeah, thanks. So once you knew you were called, you kind of talked a little bit about, going on that missions trip and knowing that that's where God wanted you to be. And then you just alluded to kind of doing that MA term. But what did kind of that journey look like to go from, going on that missions trip, knowing that God wanted you in Cambodia, to, really planting yourself in that country?
So I went on that trip, and any short-term trip, your emotions are going up, they're going down. I was not about to make a life-changing decision that week, but
Right.
even though I knew, like, I had been discerning the call for a long time, and I knew God was speaking to my heart. And so I got back into my normal routine back in Hibbing. I was back at Caribou Coffee, back at the church doing my normal thing. And I can put myself there in my mind's eye, just in the quiet spot of my house where I have my devotions, and just a normal morning. I was sitting with God, and I said, it kind of popped in my mind of like, if this is you,
Mm.
I need something.
Yeah.
And in my spirit, I just heard, oh. And so from that moment, I started to reach out to the missionaries that I had met
Mm.
and different people to find out what I had to do next.
Yeah.
And so online, through AGWM, there is a portal that brings you to the different applications that
Mm.
you can fill out. And so I went there, I filled out a missionary associate application for 1 or 2 years. And with the missionaries that I had met while I was in Cambodia, let my pastor know and everybody in the States what was going on, and
Mhm.
got all the different approvals, all the different meetings that needed to happen. And so then got approved to be a missionary associate, raised the funds for that. And then when I was in Cambodia, everything was just checking the boxes that this
Mm.
is really where I would be.
Yeah.
And so then I reapplied to be fully appointed, and that's
Mm.
just a lot more of interviews and things like that. You get to go through a wonderful psych evaluation and all that fun stuff, because really it's AGWM's opportunity to put their stamp of approval on you, saying,
Yeah.
hey, we fully endorse this person
Hmm.
to be a missionary. And being from Minnesota also puts you through a different application process, and being in contact with the missions director. And yeah, then after you get all the approvals, then you start to fundraise with the Minnesota churches and with families and
Hmm.
friends. And then once that budget is raised, then you're able to go again. And then you are sent off to be a fully appointed missionary.
Yeah. Wow. And can you kind of talk us through like what was that first year of being an MA? What did that look like? Was it what you were expecting? Were there things that you hadn't thought about, whether they were, good things or challenging things? What are some things that stand out from that first year on the fields?
So, first year as an MA, I had an idea that I was going to test the waters. That was my whole agenda of
Mm-hmm.
going, beside going and building the kingdom and all
Yeah.
those things that we do as missionaries. But personally, I wanted to test the waters, and I wanted to see if this was something for me as a
Mm-hmm.
lifetime.
Yeah.
And so I really was able to get involved in many, many different things. I am blessed that the host missionaries that I was working with had projects throughout the country. And so I saw all sorts of different projects.
Cool.
I traveled from the north to the south. In that 1 year, I saw more of Cambodia than most Cambodians do. And so I was involved in different schools. I was got to visit our orphanage down on the coast, and then most of my time was spent in the capital city with a coffee shop ministry, and also
Okay.
with our Bible school.
Yeah. And so you said now, did you say the dean of the Bible school?
Yeah, yeah. So that wasn't planned. That was just because the need arose,
Yeah.
and I always, my heart is to equip the Cambodians to reach Cambodia,
Yeah,
because I'm always
absolutely.
going to be a foreigner, as
Mm.
much as the culture as I can get into, as much of the language as I can acquire. I am always going to be taking off my cultural lens and putting on a new cultural lens.
Right.
And I feel as a foreigner, my time is best spent equipping the Cambodians to
Hmm.
reach Cambodia.
Yeah, for sure. So what does that look like? So my assumption is that, at the Bible school, Cambodians are coming similar to people would be going to Bible school back here in the United States, whether that be North Central or other Bible schools to train to be a minister. But what are kind of, maybe similarities or differences to what that Bible school experience looks like where you're at?
So, a little bit of the demographic of Cambodia. Cambodia is at least 96% Buddhist.
Mm.
And so that leaves millions of people that have never had the opportunity to hear about Christ.
Yeah.
But that also means that our church community is quite small.
Mm.
And so our churches don't have the resources to uh, say hire a pastor full time. I
Sure.
can count on one hand of all the Cambodian pastors that I know that
Mm.
are fully devoted to ministry at
Yeah.
their church. So when they come to Bible school, it is not necessarily saying I'm going out to be a pastor.
Sure.
So we have a lot coming in that are sent by the first generation of pastors. So Assemblies of God was established early 90s. And so that first generation of pastors are retirement age now, and they're now sending the next generation that hopefully will take on the mantle and take the Cambodian church to the next step. And so we see a lot of those students coming in as well, but unfortunately we just don't have the opportunity or the resources to give them a position quite yet. Sure. And that's another thing about the changing in the country. It's just not feasible at this point. It's an interesting time within the country of where they have been, because they have rapidly gone from a dependent nation where the outside world has been trying to help Cambodia overcome its history. And now they're to the point where, okay, who are we going to be in the future? And how are we going to support things?
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so, I mean, you've talked a little bit about how that has kind of impacted, how the church is being led, and the impacts on people, being able to devote their full time to ministry and things like that. But how does that impact, the receptiveness to the gospel and things like that?
So Cambodia is a communal culture. So we don't really see individuals come to Christ. We see families come to Christ. And then a village is usually an extended family. And so we see more of areas that come and become Christians. And so really we see churches established quite naturally as home churches. So the original recipients of the gospel then naturally tell their relatives, and their relatives then start to form a church at that original person's house.
Wow. That's really cool. I like that. So, you've kind of alluded to this as well, but your own journey has, I think, changed quite a bit, going from, as you said, working at a coffee shop and kind of doing a lot of things. And now it sounds like you maybe have a lot more specific of a focus, being the dean of the Bible school. But can you kind of fill in the gaps a little bit from, going from, having all those assortment of things to where you are now?
Yeah, I would say that I love ministry because you get to use all these different things that you've done. So like working in a coffee shop, like there's always opportunity for entrepreneurial involvement here, encouraging this generation of how to do business. And then there's also different opportunities, like we were talking before about like tech stuff and setting up sound and different areas. Like in ministry, there is an endless array of things. And what I love about Cambodia, and it's something that I wanted to see when I came here as an MA for that first term, I wanted to see how the people work together as the missionaries, because you always hear stories about the number one reason missionaries leave the missions field is because of other missionaries, unfortunately. We hear that. And I wanted to see, okay, what is the dynamic on the field? And I love that we are very much a team here in Cambodia, and we want to encourage one another. And so with that, I am the dean of the Bible school, but then I am still very much involved with the youth ministry. There's a camp every year that we are doing. There's the camp, not campus ministry, but like dormitory ministries that are happening. And so then I'm also on the leadership team of our missionaries. So it's kind of like our board of our missions team. And so I'm on that, and then taking care of the facilities, I'm on the facilities team. And so like you get your hands in many different pies, as it were. And so with that, I never feel like I'm pigeonholed into the Bible school. It gives a nice structure to what I'm doing to the week in and week out. But at the same time, I'm never short of ministry opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. So I read in one of your recent newsletters that you had one of those MAPS workers staying with you for a while, and you've kind of talked about different teams coming. Can you share with us maybe a story of, whether it was a person coming for a longer period of time and working with you, or a team coming, but a story of, somebody coming and working with you, and what that looked like?
Yes. In the past, I was partnered with a church in the province. And so I often try to maintain that relationship.
Mm.
And with that, I cannot split myself into two people. And so
Unfortunately.
whenever I have somebody come out that is a little bit more adventurous, that is going to be out in the province, I love to get them connected with that church. If they
Mm.
like a little bit more of the city life, if they need different kind of amenities, then I definitely get them plugged into the Bible school.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the individual. There's
Yeah.
opportunities. I tell people that we could run around with their heads chopped off like chickens, just trying to work at everything that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where it really becomes okay, what has God called you to do?
Yeah.
We can find a fit for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything that maybe experience from before you were on the field that you have been surprised that that has been something that God has used, or something that has come up, or even something that has allowed you to make a connection with somebody that you never would have expected?
Well, I'm from northern Minnesota. As I said, I'm from the Hibbing area. And so I have found that that mentality of just being removed from
Mm.
I, I my house is at least 20 minutes away from the nearest Walmart, kind of thing, like
Mm-hmm.
no cities or anything like that. Uh, and so whenever we wanted to do something, we had to be a little bit creative in making it happen.
Yeah.
And so I found that that has served me very well, especially when
Mm-hmm.
I'm living out in the province, that there's just an understanding and a connection at the pace of life of not necessarily having things that
Mm-hmm.
enable your ministry, but creating just really those opportunities to make a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so sitting down and talking with people, Cambodia being very relational, it's not about the program, it's about sitting down and
Mm-hmm.
just having lunch or dinner
Yeah.
with people. And so that has definitely served me well.
Yeah.
But like I said, I can use every single part of my life
Wow.
experience here in Cambodia.
Yeah, that's great. So, is there a favorite story that you can share with us? So, whether that be, and I think you just automatically already know, so please share.
Yeah, it's a story that everybody wants to hear because
Great.
I posted it on Facebook. So yeah, it's the one that everybody asks me about. So when I was living in the province, it was evening after I had gotten home from teaching at the local school there. I was just teaching English and music and things like that, and got home quite tired. And so I laid down on my couch, and my dog was sitting in the front of the house, and it's kind of like accordion doors, indoor
Mm.
outdoor living. And but my dog starts barking, and that was very unusual for my dog. And so I turned really to yell at him, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw a tail slither underneath the couch that I was laying on.
Oh.
Yeah. So I jumped up on the couch, and then I jumped on the coffee table and got myself out of that situation. But uh, in my mindset, I'm like, okay, I got to take care of this. So I
Mm-hmm.
grabbed my dog, or I grabbed my cat, threw him in my bedroom, and then I got a pillowcase and a broomstick.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
tried for like an hour just agitating this snake. It lunged at me a couple of times. But in the meantime, I had my thinking cap on, and I took a picture and I posted it on Facebook. And while I was dealing with this, people are messaging me, and a friend says, "Hey, you have a king cobra under your couch."
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And so, like, here I've been working at this for like over an hour, but it just shows you that cultural lens that we all wear.
Mm.
Here in my mindset, I'm like, oh, I have to take care of this by myself. This is my
Mm.
duty, like as an individual, to show that I can make it here. But
Sure.
then, as soon as I was defeated, I hung my head. I walked over to my neighbors. I'm like, I failed. Can you help me? Like, what took you so long?
Yeah.
Because in their mindset, we're a community. That's what we're
Mm-hmm.
here for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you didn't fail. Come to see us sooner. That's really where you failed.
Right.
And so really that's the story everybody wants to
Mm.
hear, but it's a pretty neat one. I've had other snake stories too, but they're not as
Oh my
exciting. They weren't
goodness.
under my couch. I just stepped on them in the wild and slithered away and stuff like that.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that you failed when you were trying to get it by yourself. That probably was a blessing in disguise.
Amen. Yes.
Yes. How would you say that these past 10 years has changed you?
Yeah. Really, I believe that living in this culture has allowed me to see things from a very different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So in the U.S., we have our singular kind of focus,
Yeah.
and that's not bad. It is where you are, what you're doing. That's how you survive. That's how you live. But
Mm-hmm.
living in another culture, you kind of break all that you know, and in that breaking process, you kind of can see what is of value, kind of like God says that he's going to burn us up and then
Mm-hmm.
what's left is the gold. So
Yeah.
purifying that gold.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really feel like this process, though it's not comfortable often,
Yeah.
you get to find that gold piece and then apply it to your
Mm-hmm.
life. And then really, I think that is, as the body of Christ, a wonderful opportunity then that we get to share with one another. Me being from America, from Minnesota, I get to take
Mm-hmm.
that and get to share my experience in a cultural lens that I've learned here in Cambodia and share it with the Church of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, I think specifically, like just in myself, like being in this culture, they're very much that relational. Like we're in Minnesota, we're the Minnesota nice, but we still have that agenda of that time
Mm-hmm.
management. Like we're on time, you're 10
Yeah.
minutes early or you're late kind of thing. But here it's about the relationship. If you need
Mm-hmm.
to take that time and you got to be late in order to maintain a relationship with somebody, that's
Mm-hmm.
what you got to do.
Yeah.
And really, when I look at the New Testament church, they have a lot of more similarity with the culture
Mm-hmm.
here in Cambodia than do to our Western culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is what it's like in a lot of other places. It's something that actually kind of had come up in our small group that we had on Monday night, the talking about that individualism versus collectivism and that concept of time and of, providing for yourself versus providing for others. How has living in Cambodia kind of given you new perspective on that, and maybe even given you some insight as to things that we can do or should do to change kind of how we operate in the U.S. and even within the church in the U.S.
Yeah, church is not Sunday morning. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
time slot that we put into our schedule. It's about being the body of Christ together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a hand, I'm not a foot. I'm
Yeah.
not going to see the same way as the other, but I believe that should be working together
Mm-hmm.
and cooperating with one another to serve Christ. And in that, it's not always comfortable and
Yeah.
it's not always easy, but uh, to die to myself, to let my agenda and my time management, and because I can be very much like, oh, why are we late? Why is this happening? Like we need
Mm-hmm.
to move on, but to stop for a moment and to allow God's heart into ours and to see his love for the person that's standing right in front of us, not
Yeah.
just the have in our mind like what we want to get accomplished. Like, and I know for myself, I'm always thinking about that next thing. I'm like, okay, what do I want to get done? What do I want to get done? What do I
Yep.
want to get done? But instead, it's like, okay, how can I be a part of this person's life? How can
Mm-hmm.
I impart God's love to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I also had read in one of your recent newsletters, you had talked a little bit about the importance of Sabbath, and that's something that we
Mm.
have been talking about a lot as a church lately. So, what can you share about Sabbath and about how that looks, having a Sabbath on the field, and how that's maybe been different, or even when you are home on itineration, like how that looks different?
Well, it's like two different lives right there when you're talking about my life on the field and life in itineration. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not even like, even when I was getting ready for this interview, I kind of had to put myself into, okay, this is my brain for itineration, like that, because you're bridging that cultural divide
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and just communicating in a very different way.
Hmm.
But so I'll take here on the field, going back to my matchworker that I just had, it's kind of funny because we had talked about like a normal week.
Mm.
And so our joke was like, oh, it's a normal week. And that just meant there's like five curveballs that were heading my way kind of week instead of just like a kind of thing. Uh, and so talk about Sabbath. I try to take Thursdays as my
Mm.
day off,
Sure.
as my Sabbath day. But like, take this, we're tapping this on a Thursday night. So
Yeah,
like,
that's
I wouldn't
true.
really consider it part of my Sabbath.
Mm.
And so in that, I'm taking tomorrow as my day off, as
Okay.
my time to have that quiet time with God.
Hmm.
And just know about yourself. I know that I'm very introverted. I need to take a time away from all the other people being out and experiencing culture. Like, I just have to separate from that for a time period to allow myself that quietness and that stillness to hear from God
Yeah.
and to worship. And so that's what Sabbath looks like here in the
Hmm.
States. It's kind of the same, but it's again more easily dictated. I
Hmm.
think in the US, we're just very much more time oriented. And
Yeah.
so I'm able to say, okay, Monday's my day. So Monday, I'm taking my Sabbath day, and that is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. Can you tell us a little bit more about the place that like, you live? So we know that there are snakes, but what else can you tell us?
Yes. So Cambodia is so rapidly changing.
Mm.
And so from when I first arrived here to now, I wouldn't even recognize it.
Mm.
And so as things change, cities become more metropolitan as
Mm.
they develop, but it takes a little bit longer for the province and the countryside to adapt to those changes. They do change, but just at a slower rate.
Yeah.
And so with that, the province is still very much a uh, kind of an off-grid kind of existence.
Mm.
There are places along the roads, the main roads, like if the provincial capitals, they usually have power lines and things like that. But you go a few roads over, and you have no toilets, no
Wow.
electricity, that kind of existence. So really, it reminds me a lot of going camping in the Boundary Waters, kind
Yeah.
of that lifestyle. And so that's the kind of existence there. But most of the places that we as missionaries go are the ones that are more along the main roads.
Mm.
And so that's where, like, the place that I lived, even though there were snakes coming into my house, they were currently paving the road in front of my house while
Mm.
I was living there and things like that. So it's quickly developing and
Sure.
changing, and the group is getting larger, and the
Mm.
infrastructure is becoming more. And in the city, I wouldn't even recognize it. People that were here 5 years ago and are visiting, they get lost where they used
Wow.
to live. And so just massive changes,
Yeah.
uh, large buildings going up. But I tell people, like, when I used to have people come from the US, please bring care packages. Like, these are the things
Mm.
that I can't get in Cambodia.
Yeah.
Now in the capital city where I'm currently at with the Bible school, anything that I'm looking for, I can find.
Wow.
And so that's not necessarily like a certain brand. If I want a certain brand of something, then I can't really find it.
Sure.
But uh, depending on how much I want to spend or how far or how long I want to look, I can find it, which is
Yeah.
a big change from when I first got here.
Yeah, definitely. That's really interesting. I'm sure that that brings in kind of a whole new dynamic of kind of, the more traditional culture versus potentially my guess would be like a younger generation kind of wanting to gravitate more towards the city, and so how has that kind of impacted even specifically students at the Bible school or ministry in general, or even how you're training for ministry, kind of maybe to be able to speak to these different cultures within Cambodia.
Yes. So I am nearing 40, and that is about the age where Cambodia changed. So anybody older than me belongs to the old Cambodia.
Okay.
Anybody that is younger than me is part of the new Cambodia. And really, the cultural divide there is so wide. It's like a chasm.
Wow.
There's no understanding between the two, because you're going from a generation of genocide and war-torn and upheaval to a generation that has known relative stability and a little bit of wealth. And so they are vastly different. And reaching that older generation is very different from reaching the younger generation. But you're talking about the Bible school students. And so it was interesting because that brought to mind that just on Monday I had interviewed 2 new of our students, a couple of our other faculty, and they are told now that in inclusion to studying, they also are going to need computer skills in what they're doing, because now they're going to actually have to type up their reports and things like that. And so that's a massive change even from when I started at the Bible school to now, that now there's reports that have to be written on computers and things like that. And really, this age of information that we live in, I highly value the work being done at the Bible school, being able to help them understand that all this information is out there, but this is how you start to discern and how do you apply this to your life. Like, not everything on the online, not everything that says it's Christian even is applicable to your life as a Cambodian Christian. And so really finding their identity in this vastly evolving culture that we have here. Like, they're very, very they hold on to their culture tightly because they want to keep that cultural identity, and they feel very strongly about being Cambodian. So segue to another thought of, they said in their culture, to be Cambodian is to be Buddhist. So to not be Buddhist is to, and that's a saying that they have. And so, but that's also part of that older generation. The younger generation, they're still trying to figure out who they're going to be in this modern world. And you add another concept onto that of who is the Cambodian church going to be in this modern world. And so that's where we currently find ourselves as missionaries, trying to walk alongside our host church and helping them to answer these questions and to find who they are as the Cambodian Christian.
So would you say then that, you know, kind of that younger generation is more receptive to the gospel, or would you say that it's just kind of different?
Very much so. That older generation, it's very, very difficult to reach them. The younger generation, we have to actually be a little bit careful, because there has been times in the church's history where the Cambodians said the Christians are out to steal your children. And that was kind of the word about the Christian people, is that they want to take your children away. And the older generation's like, okay, well, who's going to feed me as a spirit in the afterlife? Who's going to give the offerings and things like that that I need for my family? And so are you going to take that away from me? And so these are some interesting cultural dynamics that we deal with. And then when a young person comes to us, it's not necessarily like, oh yeah, this is great, you're a Christian now. It's like, okay, let's walk through this. What does this mean? Let's talk to your family. Let's get people involved in this. Let's not separate you from the people.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you give us kind of a little summary, kind of a little insight into Buddhism and into some of those beliefs or traditions or whatever it may be, that you know you're having to navigate as you're having these conversations?
Yes. So, in cultural lens, totally opposite of ours. So with Buddhism, there's the high religion, and then there's the practice religion. And so Buddhism has different forms. And if you study Buddhism, what you see in Cambodia wouldn't look like what you've studied, because really what it is animism under the umbrella of Buddhism. And so what the monks would say is that it's like a rail going up the stairs. Anything that helps you get to true Buddhism is okay. And so the folk Buddhism that you see is a lot of appeasing spirits. So like, I need to give an offering to this spirit so that my crops do well, or I need to give offering to this so that my moto is safe, so I don't get in an accident on the roads or anything like that.
Yeah. So we talked about kind of the cultural divide between the older generation and the younger generation. And from what I could tell, it kind of sounded like the Bible school students now are kind of that younger generation that the national pastors had kind of, sent to be trained up to kind of take their place. So what does that look like, trying to train the younger generation to also be able to reach their own culture, but the older generation as well?
So you kind of hit it already of the difficulties because you said to take over. The older generation it's not part of Cambodian culture to turn over anything. And so once you have position, once you have influence, you don't give away that position or influence. And so that's something that we as missionaries are working on. We will see how we can continue to point towards Christ. I'm actually teaching a class here on Corinthians coming up, and I love the example that Paul gives where he's talking about you follow Peter, you follow Paul, you follow Christ. No, we all follow, we're one body. And so we all follow Christ. And so really, I encourage the students at that point, like, we're not in ministry to build our own kingdom. It's not so we can have these followers. We're here to point people to Christ, to be the body, not to build our kingdom, our individual kingdom. And so, yes, that is a difficulty. But then also the Cambodians are very communal as well. So they're very much about sharing. Their evangelism is good. They are able to go and they're not ashamed of talking with their friends and family about what they believe. And so, like I said at the beginning, we highly encourage whole family units to come to Christ together, because that's where you see the stability, that's where you see actual longevity happen. And that foundation is necessary in order to build a church and to continue. And so really with that, it has some heartbreaking stories as well, because the last time I was out with our Bible school students, like, we went to a village and they were evangelizing. They were giving out gospel and praying for people. And some people in a family were very recipient, but then there was a patriarch that was kind of like within hearing distance, kind of like sitting off to the side. And there's just at one point just said, yeah, go away, you're not welcome here. And so it's just like, how do you reconcile that, where there's people within the family that are very receptive to the good news, but then the one that's going to make the decisions is saying, no, we're not going to have any of that. But you have to respect that, because that's at the same time, you really have to not understand, but reevaluate what you think of becoming a Christian, what that really means, and what it means to believe in Jesus. And so I tell my students, I'm not going to tell you the answer, because I want you to find the answer, and then, because that's going to be your and so, yes, I would encourage the American church to evaluate what it means to follow Christ and what it means to become a Christian.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. So you talked about a little bit earlier, kind of your involvement with or ability to kind of work with other missionaries on the field. But can you tell us more about what that looks like? So does that, do you work with a lot of other missionaries at the Bible school, or is that them kind of being in other places and then you guys kind of partner more for specific projects, or what does that collaboration look like?
So all of the above. So with the Bible school, I'm connected with all the missionaries. I want to have them all have opportunity to be as connected as possible with what we have going on. So when we have different events or we have teaching opportunities, we want to get the missionaries involved. And then we as a team, our director, our field coordinator, they call him these days. So our field coordinator, field coordinator, he is very intentional about getting all of the Assemblies of God sending nations that are here in Cambodia at least communicating and trying to work together. And so we have all these different nations apart. We have a large Latin American missionary presence here in Cambodia that they're growing, and they're starting churches throughout the country. And we're all just aware of what people are doing in different areas, because we have provinces that the capital of that province doesn't even have a church yet. And so we want to, the goal of our host church is to establish an Assemblies of God church in every provincial capital. And so let's say El Salvadorian missionaries have planted a church in the province capital over in Gokong. I'm not going to send one of our missionaries to start a church there. And so we're just trying to be intentional about allowing people to grow the church, but being strategic as well. And so with all, it's not just looking at the American church, but all the Assemblies of God churches that are sending missionaries our way, we try to work together. And so that is that team. And then within our Assemblies of God World Missions, our U.S. team, we are also very working together. Like we have people that are doing children's ministry, and then we have people that are doing young adult ministry. But with Cambodia developing, it's not difficult to go from one end of the country to the other in a couple of days. And so as much as you want to be plugged in, you can be plugged in. As much as you want to kind of focus on your one area, you're able to do that as well. And so I really want to commend our team for being flexible and for just allowing that community aspect of who we are as missionaries to be a part of our identity and our DNA.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the fact that you have AG missionaries, but from other countries that are coming to Cambodia. I think that's something we all, myself included, kind of forget about. We think about AG missionaries or just missionaries in general, and kind of in our minds are thinking, that's people going from the U.S. over to wherever it may be. So how has that specific experience or interaction been? Is that something that you were expecting? And is that something that, I don't know, what does that look like?
It's just another cultural experience. And so with so many different sending nations, you have very different mindsets of what you're going to do. And so we had a strong presence from a country in Europe for many years, but we don't have any of them here now. And so it's just like you have different seasons of different groups coming in that are more influential at certain times, and they're not influential. And with that, you have the different cultural pushes that they all bring. And again, I look at it as the body of Christ. There's not one that is better than the other. Like I can't see this way that others people do, but at the same time, I can value that, and I can work together as a body of Christ to accomplish our mission. And so with that, you just got to be flexible. You have to come in with a lot of empathy, with understanding. I like to be a student of culture. Like when you look at something and it doesn't match the way that you think, look at it with a little bit of, okay, so how can I learn about them? Whenever you enter into a situation with that mindset of wanting to learn about their culture, learn about their experience, learn about why they're doing what they're doing, and helps to not necessarily have to fight against it. And so that really brings in that aspect of teamwork and working together. And so we value every nation that is here, and we want to see them succeed. We want to see them thrive, because that's the only way that Cambodia is going to see any significant change. And so, because we can't do it all ourselves, I can reach a certain demographic. Like that's the people that I'm called to reach. And even within the God AGWM team from the US, I don't necessarily think the same way that every team member does, but they will be able to reach people that I would never be able to reach as well.
Absolutely. That's great. So what has been your biggest win so far this year in 2024?
2024, I would say biggest win would really be able to, when taking on the team member, my MAPS worker, and then
Okay.
really seeing them thrive.
Yeah.
I've seen more guests this year than I have any other year.
Okay.
And so getting to see that, yes, I am at the Bible school. I am kind of not, I don't want to say stuck here, but like I have Monday through
Planted.
Friday kind of obligation that I
Yeah.
need to see. And so I'm not able to go here, go there very much. And to see that there are others that are able to come in and connect where I wish I would be able to, but then
Yeah.
I get to send them and I get to
Mhm.
be a part of what they're doing. I
Yeah.
found so much joy in that, being able to see other team members doing what I couldn't do.
Mhm.
And I would say that's a pretty big win because I think most missionaries would say they want to be the one doing it. They want to be out there doing, like, I love the province. I would go out and I would start a church in the province in a second, but
Mhm.
I know that God has called me here to the
Yeah.
capital for this season.
Yeah.
And so getting to empower others to go out would be my biggest win this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So that being said, what does the future look like for you? What does, what are your goals for the next year? Or, where are you maybe seeing doors open or praying for doors to open?
Yeah. So for the next year, I had mentioned that I was just uh, voted by our other missionaries to
Hmm.
be on the leadership team.
Yeah.
And so with that, uh, I will be in the capital for another year, but I would, well, 2026, I should be back in the US itinerating. And so
Okay.
with that, I need to start training my replacement at the Bible school.
Oh,
And so I want to start, yeah, because, but really, it's as much as I love it, our job here as missionaries is to be giving it away.
hmm.
And so to be training whoever's coming next. So that
Yep.
is always what we should be focused on, either the
Yeah.
next missionary or the host nation, how they will be taking on what
Hmm.
we have been doing.
That's
And
good.
so, yes, I will probably be here pretty soon looking to start training my replacement at the Bible school.
Okay.
And then over the next year, leadership, I'll be traveling a little bit more throughout the country, seeing our different host churches,
Hmm.
getting to see those different projects that I haven't been able to see
Yeah.
for the last few years, connecting with more of the pastors and encouraging them in their context where they are.
Hmm.
I love doing and then in 2026, going to the US and
Yeah.
getting to see all you people in person.
Yes. That you brought up an interesting point that I hadn't really thought too much about, but when missionaries come to itinerate, what does that look like? I mean, obviously everything doesn't just stop when you guys leave. So you talked about kind of finding your replacement. So does that just mean like, they're an interim dean while you're gone, or are they going to, when you come back after itineration, does that mean that you are doing something else as well?
Uh, so, without speaking out of turn, I like I said, I would love to be out more,
Yeah.
and not so much tied down to one place. I would not put that mantle on anybody
Mm,
unless they're ready for
sure.
it. So again, when you ask me about the future,
Mm,
I'm always about equipping the next generation of
yeah.
Cambodians. And so the Bible school, that fits that calling to a T.
Hmm.
And so I am very happy to do that.
Yeah.
But if there's somebody that can take that mantle and give me the freedom to then go and encourage more of our host pastors out
Yeah.
in the countryside, I would love to do that as
Yeah.
well. But it
Absolutely.
depends on God calling. We need more workers.
Hmm.
Send more workers.
Well, that just segues perfectly into my next question, which you partially just answered. But yeah, how can we be supporting you? So obviously encouraging people to join you on the fields. But yeah, what else? What else specifically?
Things like this are excellent.
Mm,
So building that connection because
mm-hmm,
we are so removed,
mm-hmm.
and so anytime that there's this opportunity to reconnect, to make that personal connection, it means the world to
Yeah.
us. And so for me, this is wonderful. Just getting the opportunity to talk with you, talk with your church, and then as always, the financial support and the prayer support.
Mm-hmm,
They are what we continue on.
mm-hmm.
So what gives us that ability to do what we are doing
Yeah.
instead of having to focus on raising funds like I was talking
Mm-hmm.
about, like that takes me away from what I'm doing here. I would
Yeah.
have to stop working in the Bible school for that season to go raise funds. And so
Right.
that's part of the system, and that's part of making that connection and maintaining that uh, that overall worldview that the Minnesota church needs. So happy to do that, make that connection. But then even in this time of high inflation and everything else, to remember missionaries and financial support, that is amazing. And never underestimate the power of prayer. There's
Yeah.
been situations that take the snake, for instance.
Yeah.
There's no reason that I should have survived that,
Right.
but through prayer and through God's protection. And like I said, that's not the only story. There's other stories that it's like, well, I shouldn't have survived that, but thank you for your prayers for making this happen. And in such a place like this where it is a certain percentage of the population with strong spiritual beliefs, we need that spiritual. We need
Yeah.
your that prayer support, and I don't want to underemphasize that.
Yeah.
Please keep praying for us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and share about your ministry and your life on the mission field. And we're so honored to have the opportunity to partner with you and to support the work that God is doing through you. And we look forward to continuing to stay up to date, reading your updates, staying in touch, and seeing what God continues to do in Cambodia.